Chronicle is a 2012 American found-footage superhero thriller film directed by Josh Trank. It follows three Seattle high school seniors, bullied Andrew, his cousin Matt, and more popular Steve. All form a bond after gaining telekinetic powers from an unknown crystalline object found underground. The movie grows into an uncommonly entertaining movie that involves elements of a superhero origin story, a science fiction fantasy, and a drama about a disturbed teenager. Teenager Andrew Detmer starts videotaping his life. His mother Karen is dying of cancer, and his alcoholic father Richard, a disabled former firefighter, is verbally and physically abusive. At school, Andrew is frequently bullied by other students, including his classmate Wayne. Andrew's cousin Matt invites him to a party to help him mingle with some people, but his filming causes an altercation with an attendee and he leaves disappointed. Popular student Steve Montgomery persuades Andrew to record something strange that he and Matt have found in the woods. The trio enter a hole in the ground, where they hear a loud strange noise and discover a large glowing blue crystalline object which turns red, and gives them painful nosebleeds. As the crystalline object begins to react violently, the camera malfunctions. Weeks later, Andrew, Matt, and Steve record themselves as they display telekinetic abilities, but begin bleeding from their noses when they overexert themselves. They develop a close friendship and begin using their abilities to play pranks. However, when Andrew telekinetically pushes a rude motorist off the road and into a river, Matt insists that they restrict the use of their powers, particularly against living things. After discovering themselves being capable of flight, they agree to fly around the world together after graduation. Andrew wants to visit Tibet because of its peaceful nature. Steve encourages him to enter the school talent show to gain popularity, and Andrew agrees. Andrew amazes his fellow students by disguising his powers as an impressive magic act. As time goes on, Andrew becomes increasingly withdrawn and aggressive. When his father Richard attacks and slaps him during a fight, Andrew violently repels Richard's attack, injuring him. Andrew's outburst is so extreme that it inflicts psychically connected nosebleeds on Steve and Matt. While Matt ignores the nosebleed, Steve flies up to Andrew in the middle of a storm and tries to console him. However, Steve is suddenly struck by lightning and dies. At Steve's funeral, Matt confronts Andrew about the suspicious cause of Steve's death. While Andrew denies responsibility to Matt, he privately begs for forgiveness at a memorial for Steve. Andrew grows distant from Matt and again finds himself ostracized at school. After being mocked by one of his bullies, Andrew telekinetically extracts 3 teeth out of Wayne's mouth, horrifying the other students. Andrew begins to identify himself as an apex predator, rationalizing that he should not feel guilt for using his powers to hurt those weaker than him. With his mother's condition deteriorating, Andrew plans to steal money to buy medicine for her. His father old firefighting gear, he first mugs a local gang, then robs a gas station, where his plan ends in failure after he telekinetically grabs the owner's gun, which discharges into a propane tank, causing an explosion that kills the owner and leaves Andrew in the hospital with severe burns and under police investigation. At his bedside, his father informs the unconscious Andrew that his mother has died, and angrily blames Andrew for her death. As his father is about to strike him, Andrew awakens and the wall of his hospital room explodes. At a birthday party, Matt experiences a nosebleed and senses Andrew is in trouble. He and his girlfriend, Casey, go to the hospital, where Andrew is hovering outside. After saving Richard when Andrew casually drops him from several floors, Matt confronts his cousin at the Space Needle and tries to reason with him, but Andrew grows hostile and irrational at any perceived attempt to control him. Andrew, calling himself an apex predator, attacks Matt, and the pair fight across the city, crashing through buildings and hurling vehicles. When police shoot Matt in the arm, Andrew throws dozens of police and their cars through the air, and then uses his powers to destroy the buildings around him, threatening hundreds of lives. Unable to get through to his cousin and left with no other choice, Matt telekinetically impales Andrew with a spear from a nearby hunter statue, killing him. The police surround Matt and he flies away. A short while later, Matt lands in Tibet with Andrew's camera. Speaking to the camera while addressing Andrew, Matt tearfully apologizes to his cousin and vows to use his powers for good and to find out what happened to them in the hole. He positions the camera to view a Tibetan monastery in the distance before flying away, leaving the camera behind. The powers are the superhuman telekinetic abilities that Andrew Detmer, Matt Goretti, and Steve Montgomery all acquire in the film Chronicle. Matt, Steve, and Andrew all gained these various powers after being exposed to a mysterious blue crystal that they found in a large hole in the ground. The trio's main power is telekinesis, however through practice, they discover that their powers function in a similar fashion to muscles, growing stronger through repeated use. Telekinesis, the core ability shared by the trio after coming into contact with the mysterious crystal. With this ability, they are capable of moving, crushing, and swinging various objects through their minds. In the backyard early in the film, they display great techniques of telekinesis, Matt curving a ball, Andrew stopping the ball, etc. Also, through this ability the three are able to learn and develop new powers that can make them otherwise rather three formidable individuals. Flight/levitation, an ability that they acquire later on in the film. This power is an extension of their telekinetic abilities. Matt, Steve, and Andrew are able to telekinetically levitate themselves off of the ground as well as propel themselves at remarkable speeds. This makes for a much more efficient way to travel from place to place rather than just using a vehicle. Invulnerability, their powers granted them a form of telekinetic durability, which basically is an invisible skin of armor that will come to their aid when it is required, like when Andrew stabbed Matt's hand with the fork, in which the fork was bent and Matt suffered no injuries. While the armor is being used, they are virtually untouchable. Unfortunately, this ability will only work if they are prepared for whatever form of harm is threatening them, and if they fail to react in time, it can result in them being seriously injured or even killed, as seen when Steve is struck by lightning and Andrew is impaled through the chest by a spear that was part of a statue. Superhuman strength, the three are able to telekinetically enhance their natural physical abilities, thereby granting them a massive increase in things such as physical strength. This ability allowed them to literally overpower virtually anything in a physical fight, as used by Andrew when he attacked his father in his house and at the hospital. Detecting, an ability shared by both Matt and Steve. It's possible that Andrew also had this ability, but it is never shown. This ability allows them to sense one another and acts as a warning siren that lets them know if the other is in trouble. This power manifests as rather intense nosebleeds whenever one of the three is using their powers at a vigorous level. Chronicles burst. Andrew used this ability only once, when he awoke from a state of unconsciousness. This ability was unrefined, and so it was highly destructive. Let me just point out that Andrew became the most powerful of the three because he constantly used his power to levitate large objects. Another thing that I would like to state is that Andrew shares a lot of resemblance to Carrie White, where both of them have telekinetic powers and they eventually become villains due to harsh life that they experience, where sadly both become irrational monsters, where this is shown at the ends of both movies. So this is the end of this video. Please tell me in the comments what did you think about it.